You were only as good to me as the money you make.
I have made you so much more than what I just lost.
This week on At the Movies with Ebert and Roeper, Kevin Spacey and Kate Bosworth play 21.
If you're spooked, it's okay. There's no shame in that.
I ain't scared. I'm pissed off.
Ryan Phillippe and Channing Tatum are Texas buddies in crisis in Stop Loss.
I'm Mark Chapman. I'm here to meet John Lennon.
Jared Leto and Lindsay Lohan open Chapter 27.
Plus, are Demi Moore and Michael Caine flawless?
This is going too far. I'm sorry.
You're involved now.
What if we get caught? Counting cards isn't illegal.
We stay under the radar, and we look for the signal.
Folded arms, the table's hot. Blackjack.
A group of whiz kids look to beat Vegas at its own game in 21. I'm Richard Roeper.
And I'm Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune. Kevin Spacey always has that look that says, hey, pal, I'm going to take your money and you won't even know it. In the new film 21, which is based a little bit on a true story, Spacey plays an MIT math professor. He's also the ringleader of a group of students who make piles of money by counting cards at the blackjack tables in Vegas. Here we see a promising new guy, Ben, who's working his way through college, pulled into the professor's web.
It's a game with memory. Cards drawn are the past, ones to come are future.
And the best part? It's beatable.
Are you talking about counting cards?
No, I'm talking about getting very, very rich.
Ben's played by English actor Jim Sturgis. Pretty soon, Ben's off to Vegas for his first big score.
Jack counts plus 15. 10 plus 14. King 9 plus 13.
Easy money. Plus, Ben enjoys a little hey-hey with his glam teammate, played by Kate Bosworth. But pretty soon, this bizarre double life of Vegas hipster by night, MIT student by day, catches up with the new guy, and he starts getting sloppy.
I messed up. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're sorry. Oh, well, see, now that's what I've been waiting to hear, Ben. As long as you're sorry, I'm out 200 grand, but Ben's sorry. Everybody hear that? Ben's sorry! So we could all go back to being friends and laughing over cocktails.
21 has amped up atmosphere up the yin-yang, and Spacey and Lawrence Fishburne, who plays an old-school security monitor, show the young'uns in the cast how to glide through the script.
He doubled on 10 when the deck was heavy, but he didn't on 11 when it got lighter. How can you tell if it's heavy or light? I'm counting. Tell me something, Cole. If you can count that well, why are you still consulting for us? I've been asking myself the same thing. Let's just say I like being on your side of the hustle.
The problem here is that the script grows increasingly draggy and predictable. Watching Ben win and lose lose his soul and his priorities doesn't make for enough of a film. The more the director, Robert Lukatic, tosses in CGI effects of flying chips and huge close-ups of the 10 of spades coming at you, the more you realize what isn't there. The way 21 tells his story, this kid's story doesn't generate enough rooting interest for a single life, let alone a double. So I say skip this one, unfortunately.
You're busted on this review. You're all wrong.
Let me guess. The poker man likes the card movie.
Well, here's the thing. We talked about a poker movie last week, and I mentioned that it does have a lot of drama inherent in it, but that wasn't captured. Blackjack actually doesn't, because it's a much simpler game, so I think it's smart. And it's a good decision to jazz it up with the special effects. Because just watching them count cards, Michael, it was really interesting to read about in the book, which I love, called Bringing Down the House. Right. It wouldn't be interesting to watch. So I think they made a wise choice here. You got to jazz it up. You've got great hammy performances from Kevin Spacey and Lawrence Fishburne. This kid, Jim Sturgis, is good. Kate Bosworth is good. And I think it is, although it's definitely a fictionalization of a true story, they get the essence of this insanely crazy double life that these kids led as they were breaking the bank in Vegas.
I agree. Sturgis is a good actor, but do you really care about what this guy's dealing with?
Of course I do, because of course I do. Yes, it's a very predictable arc. He's the typical kid that we like a lot. He's a humble kid, then he gets full of himself, then he learns his lessons, then he falls in love, then he has problems with his mentor. We've seen all that before, but it's all in the execution, and it's well done. And yeah, I do care about this kid. You say there's not enough for a single life, let alone a double life. I was interested in his life at MIT and in their adventures in Vegas, and I thought they did a really cool job of capturing the electricity and all the neon of Vegas. Good stuff.
No, I'd say if he had a triple life, I might have gone for it.
No. Okay, next movie. Chapter 27 has Jared Leto undergoing a startling transformation on the level of Robert De Niro in Raging Bull or Charlize Theron in Monster. Now, those actors won Oscars for their work. Leto's not going to reach that level, but his depiction of the deranged assassin of John Lennon is disturbing and pretty amazing. This is a very tough tough film to watch, especially for Beatles fans that worship Lennon, but it does provide a thought-provoking take on the inner workings of Mark David Chapman's twisted mind.
His music and his lyrics provided me with everything I needed. What I really love about a song or a book, if it's really good, I mean, if the writer is really talking to you, then you feel like they're this really great friend of yours, and you can just call them up on the phone whenever you want.
Lindsay Lohan gives a fine, understated performance as Jude. She's a fixture outside the Dakota in New York City, where Lennon lives with Yoko Ono. The more time Jude spends with Mark, the more she realizes he's more of a loose cannon fanatic than a respectful fan.
This is a little heartbreaker. This is Sean.
I flew all the way across the ocean from Hawaii, and it's an honor to meet you, Mr. Lennon.
Chapter 27 doesn't glamorize Chapman for a single frame. I don't think. It's an unsettling experience, to be sure, and not one I'd want to repeat soon. We see the moments when Chapman is almost able to wrestle down his inner demons and walk away, but of course we know how this tragedy will end. Thanks to the considerable skills of Leto and writer-director J.P. Schaefer, this is a respectful interpretation of what might have led Chapman to that fateful encounter with the most influential member of the most influential pop band ever. It's a good, strong, tough film.
Yeah, good points. And it's a very interesting picture. And I haven't seen a movie that gets at this weird juncture between what constitutes a fan and what brings him into stalkerhood. You know, kind of explored with that much nuance. And so much of it has been shot at night at the Dakota. It's got a strange kind of realism.
That's a good point, Michael. It makes it very eerie. And Jared Leto, who is, you know, usually this handsome, lean, leading man type, it's not just about the weight gain. He really becomes this creep. And you make a very excellent point, because I think people will say, well, geez, this guy is so obviously crazy. Why didn't somebody outside the Dakota, why didn't one of these doormen or one of these other fans say something to the cops? But the truth is, a lot of hardcore fans of actors, musicians, whatever, look a little bit off sometimes, and 99.9% of them are absolutely harmless.
And despite, I think that, you know, I had a little worry with the narration, the voiceover narration at the beginning, because it sounded a little too movie psycho for me, but this performance is much subtler than that.
Yes, it is.
And it just feels like it's the closest I'll ever come to seeing an off-Broadway play on this subject, but it feels cinematic too, so yeah, good surprise.
Yes, absolutely. All right, later in the show, Ryan Phillippe and Channing Tatum give the best performances of their careers in Stop Loss.
And next, Demi Moore and Michael Caine star in Flawless.
How much will it hold?
How much would you like it, darling? For 16 years, I've been working within a hair's breadth of that door.
You intend to go for the vault?
That's where the diamonds are.
Our next movie, Flawless, certainly isn't that, but it's an entertaining second-tier heist film starring Demi Moore, acting tense every second, and Michael Caine, Mr. Relaxation. They're both a long way from when they did Blame It on Rio together. This movie's set in 1960. Moore's an American-born, English-accented, sort of, employee of the powerful London Diamond Company, who gets passed over for a promotion. Caine is the night janitor with a plan to boost his pension by smuggling out £1 million worth of diamonds. Here, he susses out his potential partner in crime.
Take those South Africans, for example. Do you think we should hand them their freedom or let them seize it for themselves?
Well, that's an interesting debate, a dangerous one maybe. But for my money, I'd say things are never as simple as they seem.
Caine's character, who lost his wife to cancer, has had the vault in his sights for years. All these two need are the secret codes, and for Caine to help Demi Moore with her English accent a little bit.
And you plan to obtain the codes how?
That's where you come in, Miss Quinn. Until recently, this was supposed to be a solo operation. A year ago, quite by accident, I discovered that Sir Milton kept the codes concealed in his desk.
The director, Michael Radford, who's more competent than fascinating, shot Flawless mostly in Luxembourg, and this film's basically a series of interior scenes disguising the fact that they're shooting in Luxembourg, not England. Moore, I can take or leave here, and there are times when she seems to be morphing into mid-career Joan Crawford, but it really is a pleasure to see Caine working this material to his advantage. It's no Gambit. Remember Caine and Gambit 40 years ago? Very good film. But he makes Flawless fun. So I say borderline, but see it.
Well, you just got my head spinning. First of all, I'm just wondering whatever happened to Michelle Johnson from Blame It on Rio. She didn't get a role in this film.
You're trying to convince me that you just thought of Michelle Johnson now? I know
quite
you've
a
been thinking about
reference.
her for years.
Quite a reference. And you know, it's interesting about the English accent because I think they must have written this into the movie halfway into filming because they go, well, she was born in America, but she was educated at Oxford. But I thought she did good work. And of course, Michael Caine, always fun to watch. And I'm with you on this. I'm recommending this film as well, Michael. Because very stylish, and they do a nice job of just saying, okay, let's keep it interior. And they capture the essence of the time, this sort of the fact that, you know, she's the only woman in this company and she's very frustrated and everybody's smoking cigarettes, and when they introduce a security camera, it's about this big into the hallway. So it's very nice on a low budget, obviously, of capturing the mood. And yeah, as you said, it's a second-tier thriller, kind of movie.
Here's how you know it's second-tier. You notice that London has 3 extras in it. There's only like 3 people on any given street, so it's a little cheeseball in that way, but I think Caine is the real reason to see it. More, but Caine really in his sweet spot.
And some neat little twists and turns as well.
Yeah, I could have used 3 more extras, but there it is. Later in the show, David Schwimmer, who learned a few things about comedy from the TV show Friends, directs Run, Fatboy, Run.
I'll just run away.
And next, it's a 21st century version of Coming Home. Roeper Phillips stars in Stop Loss.
Now they're shipping me back to Iraq.
This is a mistake. It's all there. You leave on the 22nd, shipping back to Iraq. Subsection 12305, Title 10, by the authority of the President. You've been stop lost.
Just about every mainstream dramatic film we've seen about the Iraq War has been a box office disappointment. And even with an attractive young cast and a compelling storyline from a first-rate director, Stop Loss is going to be a tough sell as well. But here's hoping audiences will be adventurous enough to take a chance on this very worthy film. Roeper Phillips and Channing Tatum have often played empty pretty boys in the movies, but they're both quite strong here as best friends from Texas that return home and are hailed as heroes.
Back in Texas now. Love Texas. Woo! To Steve and Michelle. Finally!
The title is a reference to the military's sort of backdoor draft policy of forcing enlisted men back into rotation even after their initial service has been completed. When Phillips is told he has to go back to Iraq, instead he goes AWOL.
It's a backdoor draft is what it is.
What about Steve?
Mitch, I don't know. Some of us are getting it, some ain't.
This cannot be happening. No, you almost died over there. What do you want to do? You want me to take you to Mexico till this blows over?
No. Out of the question, Mom. I ain't dragging my tail across to Mexico.
I'll take you.
Stop Loss is directed by Kimberly Pierce. This is just her second film after the brilliant Boys Don't Cry nearly 10 years ago. Now there are elements of such classic Vietnam films as Coming Home and The Deer Hunter here. Although Stop Loss isn't in that league, it is one of the best and I think one of the most powerful statements yet about the stateside effects of the seemingly endless war in Iraq. Phillips and Tatum and Joseph Gordon-Levitt have never been better as patriots that enthusiastically sign up for the war only to see their illusions shattered. This is a film that I think is pro-soldier but anti-war.
Yeah, I like that distinction, but the film, I don't think audiences are going to be drawn into this.
Well, what about you? Were you drawn into
this?
There's
a difference between good, bruising human drama and melodramatic piling on. And I think that as good as the acting is in this picture, the plot and the script details all feel just a little too hoked up, and you don't get a good, convincing variety of battle fatigue from these different characters. It all seems like too much of a variation on the same guy, and tonally, it's all like it's hammering all.
I think these three main characters are very distinct, and we get to know about each one of them. And I thought we saw a different angle, especially with this road trip with Abby Cornish as the fiance of one soldier who goes AWOL with another soldier because they're all friends.
Yeah, but that belongs to the movies, not real life.
But we see that whole underworld of all these veterans who have sort of just kind of faded and gone AWOL because they don't want to go back to Iraq, and we find out about the network that tries to funnel them into Canada. I thought all of that was interesting. And very sad, and unfortunately a true commentary on what's going on in the world right now.
Look, I agree with this film in principle, okay, but I just think too many of the details do not ring true. I do not believe the way that the Roeper Phillips character goes AWOL.
I believed every second of it.
I believed
every second of it.
No, I think, and Pierce, I think, but you're right about Boys Don't Cry, and I think, look, it's only her second film. she'll get back to it.
Well, I hope it's not another 10 years before she does
No, it's been too long.
That's for sure.
Too long. Okay, next film. If you've seen Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz, you know that Simon Pegg is one terrific comic actor. And he's even good in a disappointment like Run, Fatboy, Run. Directed by David Schwimmer of Friends, this is a very mild romantic comedy about a guy who ditches his pregnant fiancée at the altar and then years later tries to win back her respect and love by entering a marathon. Well, it's a plot anyway. Pegg plays the hapless Dennis, Tandy Newton is Libby, the abandoned bride who shares custody of their son, and Hank Azaria plays Libby's smug American boyfriend. Here, Dennis tries to make amends with his ex.
I did a stupid thing, but it was only because I thought spoiling your day was better than ruining your life. Does that make any sense?
You're such an idiot.
The movie, which is one big Nike tie-in, gets Dennis into shape for the big race with the help of his pal Gordon, played by Dylan Moran.
Don't!
Hey, maybe there's a little man in there who looks just like you, but he's really good at running.
What are you talking about?
Just a thought.
You're gonna have to pop it.
Pegg is charming throughout, but okay, so for one thing, he's not really fat. This should be called Run, Slightly Flabby Boy Run. And while Schwimmer knows comedy, he doubtless also knew that this script needed more help than he could give it. So I say flat.
Well, of course he's not fat. That's one of the jokes here. He keeps saying that. I'm not fat. I'm just a little bit out of shape.
If that's the level of joke.
And you know what? It's a funny title. It's a funny film. I understand what you're saying. I'm giving it a mild recommendation here, Michael.
Well, it's a mild film.
It is a mild film. It's a cheeky little comedy. I like the fact, though, I mean, I think, you know, starting with the title, Run, Fat Boy, Run, nobody changed it, was worried about it being politically incorrect. And the fact that this guy leaves Tandy Newton pregnant at the altar, I mean, what a putz. You idiot.
I don't know. This whole thing seems off to me.
What about the cool, you know, there's a nice little friendship with his landlord that he has there. There's this sort of multi-ethnic casting that I think kind of brings the spirit of London to the film. Nice touches. Hank Azaria is funny. Sure, it's predictable. Sure, it's a slight effort, but I still think it's pretty funny and charming.
Pegg is a guy who I think is going to have a great kind of like Hugh Grant leading man career, because this film is trying to be 4 Weddings and a Funeral in that sort of tone. But I tell you, man, this just does not have the verbal wit. And Schwimmer, you know, promising comic director, but not quite.
I think he's got a career ahead of him as a director. And you know what? It's interesting. You don't even know this, but Simon Pegg is in a video pic I got coming up a little bit later in the show. How about that for a tease, my friend? In fact, coming up next, Gwyneth Paltrow and Penelope Cruz and other actors star in a cool movie that none of you saw last year in our video segment. But first, here's a look at some of the movies we'll be reviewing over the next few weeks.
Oh, I like him.
That girl needs you. The island's already lost.
Never! I love you.
Are you breaking up with me?
All right, looking at movies new on DVD, Alvin and the Chipmunks was a huge hit. I hated it. Also not recommending Resurrecting the Champ or What Love Is. Bad movies.
What can we learn? Some weeks are better than others, you know?
That's why I went digging and found a gem. What I can recommend this week is The Good Night, a film that grossed a mere $20,000, give or take a nickel or two, despite the presence of Penelope Cruz, Gwyneth Paltrow, and Simon Pegg from Run, Fat Boy, Run. Martin Freeman stars as a former one-hit wonder pop musician who hates his job and is stuck in a dying relationship with Paltrow. Then he meets the girl of his dreams, literally. Written and directed by Gwyneth's brother Jake Paltrow, The Good Night is an original and challenging film. It's not perfect by any means, but it's infinitely more interesting than a lot of movies that found wider audiences last year and are coming out on DVD next week.
No kidding, man. Well, I haven't seen that, so I look forward to it.
Check it out.
All right, I will. Okay, Sweeney Todd is out on DVD this week, and if you're at all interested in movie musicals, you should see it. It's bloody, sometimes bloody disgusting, but it's director Tim Burton's best film in years. It's also proof that Johnny Depp can sing even the trickiest of Stephen Sondheim's songs. Sweeney Todd is very stylish work all around, brooding atmosphere, and the music is gorgeous.
I'm with you on this one, Michael. Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter, I still have a theory that they brought their own wardrobe to this film. That's just me. And Sondheim is a true original, and I think they do him justice.
Boy,
here.
Bonham Carter had sung just a little bit better, but the acting is wonderful in that part.
Yeah, it really is. Okay, Sweeney Todd and The Good Night will be in stores on Tuesday, and we'll be back with my picks for 3 to see the best 3 movies in theaters right after this.
Closed captioning for Ebert and Roeper is sponsored by
Now it's time for 3 to see. My picks for 3 of the absolute best movies in theaters right now. My number 3 pick, 21. Though I would have preferred a hard R take on this story, I'm still recommending it. I love Kevin Spacey when he's in full sneer mode as the guy you love to hate. At number 2, I have Snow Angels in limited release, but deserving of a wide audience. And at number 1, I'm going to keep beating the drums for In Bruges until it disappears from theaters completely. Colin Farrell and in particular Brendan Gleeson are fantastic in this dark comedy, or is it a tragedy with laughs?
Yeah, good work on those, on the last 2. I don't know about the 21. You know, just in some alternate universe, you're not a poker player, and you see the movie for what it's really worth, which is not quite enough.
Well, that's okay because it's about blackjack. Anyway, that's it for this week, and until next week, the balcony is closed.
The military maneuver.